Thanks for tuning in to the Trap House Podcast. Now, a quick word about our sponsors. We have Duke Traps. Check out DukeTraps.com. Duke manufactures over 40 different models of cage traps, coil spring traps, long spring traps, and body grip style traps. Also, my personal favorite, they have the Duke dog proofs. They come powder coated, perfect on the line. Check out DukeTraps.com and you won't be disappointed. We have J3 Outdoors, maker of the Hags Bracket, all American made products. Check out their website, j3o.com, and you will not be disappointed. They have everything from your bait holders, your spring clips, your tail hooks, the universal locks, the list goes on. Especially if you're a water trapper, you want to check this website out. That's j3o.com. We also have Top Lot Stretcher Company with us. Check out their website at toplotstretcherco.com. Top Lot Stretcher Company handles all your wooden stretcher needs, along with pelt handling supplies and trapping supplies. Check out their website at toplotstretcherco.com. And representing all the girls in the trapping world, we have Trapping Girl Inc. with us. Check out their website, trappinggirlinc.com. They have awesome apparel for the females. There's also kids apparel, lures and baits, things you could use out in the field. Check out their website, trappinggirlinc.com. And there's only one true way to start out the trap line in the morning, and that's with a nice hot cup of coffee from traplinecoffee.com. Check out their numerous collections. They have Trapline Blend, a Kodiak Blend, and my favorite, a Cherry Red Blend, all available at traplinecoffee.com. Also, be sure to check out Weeby Knives. That's weebyknives.com. They have skinning knives, fleshing knives, all your fur handling tools. Check out weebyknives.com. Need a place to sell your fur? Check out Groenewald Fur and Wool Company. They're the largest and most experienced direct receiver of wild fur with over 50 plus years of experience. Their website is gfwco.com. And last but not least, Hoosier Trapper Supply. Check out our website, HoosierTrapperSupply.com, home of the Top Dog Predator Bait and Jet Fuel Predator Lure. We got all your trapping needs, trapping scents and baits, deer scent, and apparel. Check out HoosierTrapperSupply.com. All right, everyone, welcome back to another Trap House podcast. We got a great guest all the way from Wyoming joining us today. EJ Kelley's with us. How you doing, EJ?
Great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate you being on. Basically, we want your whole story.
My whole story. We ain't got enough time for that.
Yeah.
Well, they can buy the book.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We got the book that has EJ's whole life in here that we're going to talk about. But kind of, I guess to put it in perspective for people, you guys met before I actually met you. Where's that go, Charlie? Is that
I don't know if you remember, EJ. Probably the first time I met you was up in Wisconsin at the FTA convention, 2012, 2013, something like that.
It might have been the 50th anniversary of the Fur Takers.
Yeah,
possibly.
It was in Wisconsin. I think I started at the Trappers College that fall, but I didn't know I was even being asked yet. So,
okay, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So you guys met there, then now you guys are instructors together at the Trappers College.
That's right. Yep. Charlie's been with me quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
I started there in 2008 and was under Jerry Joe Barnett. Rick Shadell was there. Charles Davis out of New Mexico. And 5 years later, Jerry Joe retired. That's when they put me into the lead position on Group 1. But I think that was 2013. So I can't quite remember what year you started there, Charlie.
I was 2013, but the first year I was there, I helped Dave Hastings, and then
That's right.
Yeah, so the following year I probably was when I started helping you, 2014.
That sounds about right.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Super.
I do remember Gene Bieber at the time, because I told him, I said, hey, I like that class 4. And he goes, we need you in class 1. And I said, well, that's fine. And then he asked me like a year or two later, he goes, you want to go back up to class 4? And I said, no, I like it just fine in class 1. So
it is a great class to teach because it's very rewarding. You know, the students are learning so much because our group, you know, they don't know hardly anything when they get there.
right.
And that's one of the most rewarding parts, I think. And I'm pretty sure you can relate, Charlie.
Yeah, same. You know, you got people that get excited about catching a groundhog or a possum or something. We're not
Right.
we're not
Exactly.
even targeting those guys. So, but
Yeah. So then I ended up coming to the college to help do some social media stuff, get some photos, and somehow they put me in the same bunkhouse as you guys. So I got to know EJ pretty well too.
That was a treat, wasn't it?
That's why I haven't been back since.
Might be something to that.
No, just being busy at work, really, more than anything.
Yep.
But why don't you take us on that journey? When did you start trapping? Like, how'd you get into it? Did someone show you, or you just?
No. I was just my sophomore year of high school. I moved back from Colorado. I was there for a little bit with my dad, and a school buddy of mine. We were very broke kids. We had nothing, and we normally worked in the summertime for the farmers. Well, all of our classmates seemed to be out trapping with their brothers or their dads or whoever. And we heard about some of the money they were getting for some of the pelts. And so we decided to strike it out on our own. We started in a little pond. We had no idea what we were doing. We knew the traps had to go in the water. And the local trapper gave us some cherry flavored apple cider he put in a spray bottle. He said, use this, just squirt it on the cattails, set your trap below it in the water. And that's what we did. And I caught my first muskrat that year. And I think we took about maybe a dozen and a half out of that pond. I was pretty hooked. I was a very avid bow hunter at the time, for being a youngster. And I had no idea that anything could supersede bow hunting for me, but it did. So after that, it just escalated. Spent all my waking hours trying to figure out how to catch a coon. Never did for a couple of years. I really struggled with raccoon trapping, but again, no one was there to show us, and we basically learned on our own. But things just kind of clicked after the first couple of raccoons. I'd actually caught beaver before I caught raccoons, which was different, but it just kept going on and on from there. Here I am today. Just went up through the years like other trappers do, and I kind of went overboard with a lot of things. Started an ADC business when I was pretty early in my career, actually, but I was head over heels trapping, and if it had anything to do with trapping, I wanted to be involved. Started a supply business, very humble beginnings back in the early 90s, and by the 2000, I think I'd sent out over 2,000 catalogs, maybe 2003. Spent some time working with Tim and Nancy Caven up at Minnesota Trapline Products. Taught me some ropes there. And but I always wanted to get back west from that 6 months I spent in Colorado as a boy. And we finally got here, going on 7 years ago now.
So you mentioned you were in Colorado, then you went back home. Where was home?
That was northern Iowa.
Okay, then you ended up where you are now for the past 7 years.
Did a little trapping in the service from 87 and 88. I was lucky and fortunate enough to be able to do a little trapping there. It kind of saved my sanity. I didn't care for the Army much, but I was, and I tell stories about that in the book too. And, but yeah, it was a whole different ballgame down there. I mean, I was still new to trapping. And then you go from farmland country in Iowa to the coastal region of Virginia. So I had to relearn again, even though it was still very green at what I had just learned back in Iowa, only several years under my belt. Everything's an adventure.
Yeah. So you have some of those stories in this book.
Yeah.
Moving on, looking at the back 40. How long has this been out? Is this brand new?
We got it printed in May this year.
Okay.
Well, it's just out. What it really consists of is years ago when Dave Hastings was editor of the Fur Taker, he says, you've got kind of a unique story going on there about your life and everything. And he says, have you ever thought about writing? I said, no, I haven't. And it kind of left right there. Well, a few years went past, and then he became president, and Eric Arnold was the editor and still is, of course. And I approached Eric and I said, I'd kind of like to write about this. Ever since we moved, and that's why I call it Moving On. And it's the articles I wrote in the Fur Taker and compiled them into a book. So some of the guys have followed it from start to beginning, but we're always getting new members and they come in late, and so that's why we put it into a book. It was 3 years of writing articles, and it took me 3 years to cover the 40 years of my life as a trapper. That's basically what it boils down to. And of course, I'm still writing for the Fur Taker, but now it's more how-to instructional articles.
So EJ, you spent a lot of time trapping primarily in Iowa.
I did.
Right. And I know coon was a big thing in Iowa. That's considered one of the better raccoons in the country, and their size and quality and whatever. So I know you spent quite a bit of time with raccoons. So when did you decide more into the coyote trapping, or did you do that as the season progressed?
Well, we had some fox at the time there in Iowa. 1991 was the last good fox year we had. Mange hit, and we were also getting the movement of coyotes coming into the state, or not the state, in my area. So I had a real interest in the red fox. I knew we were getting some coyotes around. It just so happened to be in '94 I attended the Fur Takers College as a student, and Gary Jepson was my instructor. And of course, he put the absolute crazy bug in me with these coyotes, and it's been kind of nuts ever since with them. And I struggled with them at first, but looking back, I realized that we didn't have many coyotes to work with. And when you don't have a very good population, it's going to be challenging to catch them, as opposed to when they're everywhere and in good numbers. So I really struggled and thought, I'm not cut out to be a coyote trapper. But it was something that I had to, really work at. And I really wanted to be successful on coyotes. So, and then the next year I went up, took instructions from Gary, private instructions, which made me more addicted to these things. And the following year, he invited me out to trap with him. That was quite the honor. So then I started catching on more, but we still didn't have a lot of coyotes to work with in Iowa. But they come along, their numbers increased and my catches increased. So it's just been an addiction for me.
There could be worse things to be addicted to.
That's right.
Coyotes isn't that bad.
That's right. Yeah.
So what would you consider, like, in your area now? Like, what's a I'm sure it varies every year, but like how many coyotes do you think is, in your trapping area, like numbers wise? Would you
Well,
consider
when we
like
first,
20 a season good or 100 a season good?
well, I don't really know what's a good season, because every year, like you said, is different. When we first moved here, there was quite a few numbers of coyotes. The first 2 years, I barely got out of eyesight of my house here, and had some fantastic catches. The second year I was here, I believe I had 105 coyotes, but I average distance from the house is 4.5 miles. So that's not bad.
No.
Now, we've had parvo come through about 4 years ago, and between that and the predator management program in Wyoming has really upped their game here this last year. They've dumped a lot of money into it. So they're killing more coyotes year round. And that's less for the fur trapper to have opportunity to catch. So the last 2 years, I've had to work pretty hard, and my numbers are down to like 81, 83 coyotes. And it's definitely not big numbers, but they're very hard earned.
Yeah.
So, I consider it a great year every year I can get out and trap. I haven't missed a year in 40 years. So any year's a good year for me. As long as I can get out there and I'm doing it. Of course, we're all struggling now with the low fur prices, but we got to find alternative markets and sell everything but the howl on them things. So we got to do what we can do.
So EJ, a lot of us dream about or think about doing what you actually did. Just literally picking up and moving to your dream state, and why, and I think a lot of people that trap or hunt would consider Wyoming a dream state, so how'd that all come about?
Well, I actually owe all that to Maggie, because, and it's in my book, very early on in the first chapter, how this all transformed. And it was totally driven by God. There was 100%. Everything. She doesn't remember saying, "Let's move to Wyoming," as she was doing dishes that night in the kitchen. She doesn't remember. And it's a very unique story, and we have a lot of unique stories along the way when we were looking for property, while we were looking, and it's all in that book. And I've had a lot of good comments on it, because it's not an instructional book per se, but it's just our story and what happened to us.
Yeah, we don't want to give the book away, and I've
right.
I've read those chapters that you're referring to. So yeah, it's a good story, and how things lined up for you, So
yeah. Nope.
Now I want a signed copy.
Okay.
That's one that I got a collection of trapping books, so you gotta get this one too.
I'll be glad to do that, Justin. My pleasure.
So EJ, you also trapped North Dakota
Yep.
when you were still living in Iowa.
Yep. I trapped Wyoming also when I was living in Iowa. Anytime I could get west for any reason, especially when it involved trapping. But yeah, I enjoyed trapping North Dakota. Like I said, I trapped with Gary on numerous occasions. Then I said, it's time to put on my big boy pants and do it on my own. So one summer I come up and we went looking in some country that I planned on trapping. I trapped that for many years. It was beautiful country, beautiful coyotes, along with fox and coons and skunks. And I haven't been there since we've moved, because now October is filled with fill in the freezer for our meat. In fact, Sunday I dropped a big cow elk, and I'm just started butchering her today, and we'll be finishing up with her tomorrow. And we also have an antelope. We'll have, I believe, 4 deer tags to fill here later on. So we live a lifestyle that we don't go to town and buy groceries very much, and we certainly can't afford to buy a lot of beef at the store. In fact, we don't buy any beef at the store. We're 90%, 99% wild game is what we eat. We'll buy a little pork and a little chicken for something different. So October's filled with hunting and trying to get the freezer full and getting ready for trapping, which is coming up here shortly too. Plan on starting probably the last week of October. I shot a coyote the other day checking skunk traps. I love trapping skunks. But I shot a coyote on my way in to check some traps, and it was a pup of this year, and it had very good fur on it for being a pup and for being on, I believe it was the 5th of October I shot it. So I think they're ready to go, but with the very particular fur grade right now, I'm going to give them a few weeks to a little more hair on, and we'll get after them.
Do you eat the coyote?
No, no.
Oh, he's he's trying to stock the freezer. I didn't know how.
Well, elk tastes a lot better than coyote.
I believe it.
Occasionally you'll see somebody on some YouTube channel or whatever that's eating a coyote, and it's like there is no way. And I'm generally pretty much on board with trying stuff, but I've skinned so many nasty coyotes that it's like there is no way I'm trying that.
Yeah, I think I'd eat the bark off of a tree before I'd eat a coyote.
Yeah. I think so too. So EJ, tell us about the skunk trapping. Are you having some success?
Our numbers are way down here, but I didn't see many roadkill this summer either, which I kind of had an idea they were going to be down, and so I pulled the skunk traps. It's just not panning out. I run 10 traps a week, and they're all in my honey hole spots that I always catch numerous skunks there. What should have been about 20 skunks in a week was 5. So not worth it to do that. I think where I really started to enjoy skunks is I did duck restoration for the Fish and Wildlife Service for 2 years in northern Iowa, and then I did another 2-year project for Max McGraw Wildlife Foundation up in northern North Dakota. Of course, we all know the skunks are devastating on duck nest, duck eggs. So I learned how to trap them in a lot of different ways, and I learned a lot about the skunk. And I just really enjoy trapping them. They're easy to skin, they're easy to put up. Of course, the essence is a lot of value, as we know. And my coyote will eat the carcasses. I mean, nothing goes to waste on a skunk for me. I sell the skulls, of course, the pelt. I guess the guts go to waste. I don't utilize the guts on a skunk. But other than that, everything gets utilized.
Yeah.
I do have a coyote for urine collection. I started that out. The necessity for me, I couldn't find top quality urine that I wanted to use in my coyote trapping. So I caged a coyote. Of course, I can't use all the urine that he gives me. So last couple of years now, I've been selling it to some trappers, and they really like it. So the other day, I finished another cage. I got to get another coyote. Demand is up.
What's the bobcat population like in your area?
Very low. Very low. We've had a rabbit crash. We've had hemorrhagic disease come through our cottontails. It just wiped him off the face of the earth. for like 2 years, we couldn't find a cottontail. You could mark it on the calendar, saw one. And the bobcat numbers have just plummeted. So last year I connected with 3 cats. I've seen 5 sets of tracks all winter. Connected on 3 of them. They're very good cats. So we don't have many, but we sure have a good quality cat here.
Right.
And that kind of saved my bacon last year as far as income, the fur trapping.
Yeah. What would you say an average cat goes for out there? I mean, with the given market today, and obviously this fluctuates, but
Last year I heard a lot of 400 to 500, 550 range. Mine averaged just dollars under 600. So I was very pleased with that.
yeah.
I don't think they're going to be that well this year.
Yeah, I don't
do
know.
plan.
A lot of it is, it might be too early to say too. I don't know, but is that what you're hearing, EJ?
Yeah, everything's the bobcat market's softened up a little bit, but they said that last year too at the beginning of season,
Right.
and it really escalated.
The thing about those good quality cats like you have, there's not that many in the scheme of things. I mean,
No,
so I mean, we got a fair amount of cats in the east, or the considered an eastern type cat, which there's always quite a few of those. In nothing like raccoons or anything, but that really high end quality bobcat, I mean, there's not that super many of them. So
right.
Right.
And I know our quality isn't the same as say down in Utah and things like that. They have some amazing cats down that country, Nevada, and parts of Idaho.
Yeah.
But we've got a really good cat here.
Yeah.
You don't get too many dinks. They're all pretty fair cats.
Probably takes a pretty good hardy animal to get through those winters out there.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. I live in an area where it's very arid right here on the right out on the foothills of the Beartooth Mountain, and you'll have a lot of snow up in the mountain, and you'll come down to our level, and it seems like a lot of the rain or snow will miss us. I mean, we get cold. We've been down to I think 40 below here, but we don't get the precipitation and the extreme weather fluctuations that I used to have to deal with in northern Iowa. So that helps my calls out a lot too. But it can be different. If you go down to Cody, which is 40 miles away, they get more snow and wind than we get here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What elevation yet?
We're at about 5,000 feet here at the house.
Okay.
So would that be considered like, I mean, I know that sagebrush, is that like a high desert then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We're high desert here. A couple miles away, you're at the base of the mountains, and she goes up from there.
Yeah.
And it's nice below us, a few hundred feet or so, is farm ground along the Clarks Fork River. So we have a really diverse ecosystem here. Kind of got everything.
Have you trapped that farm ground?
Yes. Yep. There's coyotes out there. Of course, there's more raccoons, skunks, and the red fox tend to hang along that more along the river.
Mm-hmm.
Here, but
Does it seem to support more animals, the farming?
Not that I've noticed.
Okay.
Definitely on the red fox, it does. But there's been years where there's been really good coyote numbers there, and there's been years where there just ain't.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has to do with the overall population of the coyote or something else that's contributed to that factor where there's less. But our fox and coyote seem to coexist together just fine. Back in Iowa, if I caught a fox, most time it's pretty well strung out by the coyotes. They didn't
Yeah.
tolerate them. And, but here, catching good numbers together. I think there's plenty of habitat, plenty of food source for both of them. They don't have that high competition amongst each other.
So they're not as territorial as they are out where you're from.
Yeah, I think the territorial part doesn't really come into play with them as much as food availability for both species. They don't have that, I got to get rid of this red fox or he's going to catch my meal kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So EJ, to back up, when you were still living in Iowa and you went into Wyoming to trap, you were trapping eastern Wyoming. Did you run into that the coyote, like you said, the government, whether it be USDA or state trappers or hired trappers, did you run into that in that eastern part quite a bit, where they just basically, there really wasn't that much out there to catch?
I did. It's kind of funny. I got to become friends with, at the time, the USDA trapper there. A heck of a good hand. He killed 600 to 800 coyotes a year by himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did everything. He trapped, snared, called, denned, flew, everything. And we would go out there and we'd be setting traps, and it seemed like we should be catching more than this. And in hindsight, we were doing pretty good, actually. Sometimes we'd hit there on a warm spell, or for whatever reason, coyote activity wasn't at its peak. So, but looking back, we did pretty fair for a guy in that county that was killing that many coyotes.
Right. We ran into that in New Mexico when we were down there, and I think we went 5 different times, and we were actually in 5 different parts of the state. We ran into that pressure, that, year-round pressure, whether they were aerial shooting them or trapping, whatever was necessary, that it was just a lot of pressure on those coyotes, so.
Yeah, the ones that survived, they ain't no dummies. That's for sure.
No.
And they've had predator control programs here in the West since, oh boy, way back in almost probably 90 years now.
Yeah.
Or even further. And what you have is a coyote that there's a paranoia that is bred into this population of coyotes. It's just naturally there. They're persecuted 12 months out of the year here in other parts of the western states. Like you said, whether from any angle, whether it be trapping, snaring, calling, and then you throw in the recreational hunters,
right,
callers, trappers, on top of the government, and you've got a recipe for, you'll never have high numbers. nothing that's going to be record book stuff, and you always have coyotes that are a bit spooky, it seems.
Yeah.
Where you catch one back in the Midwest, you can count on some more showing up. Around here, usually you can count on them looking out of the place for a while.
Yeah.
So it's a little more challenging out here, to me anyway.
Yeah, I guess the first time that I went out west was years ago. I went to Kansas, and they had just basically manged out there, so there wasn't, they had to rebuild. You had mentioned parvo earlier, and we had parvo go through here. That's probably been, I don't know, 20 years ago at this point. And there was no coyotes. It was just wiped them. And, anybody that has a dog, you've always vaccinate for parvo, because if they get it kills them. There's not much survival on that. So
yeah,
coyotes get it, it's devastating. And it probably took a full year or so for them to actually start coming back, so, but they did fill in and we got, they came back fine, but that was devastating on them. But,
Yeah, it's taken a substantial amount of time here to get back to normal. And I don't know if it will be with the government stepping up their predator control program. They're dumping millions into it.
yeah.
So what, I don't know if you have this in your book or not, but can you tell us one of your favorite like times out on the line? Is there a day that stuck out or like, man, this is a great day, got this, and this, and I wasn't expecting that, and it was just a cool outdoor experience?
There's one, and it's in the book. I was in eastern Wyoming. I took off after the Iowa season got over in January. All was ended January 31st. And so I packed up, took off for Wyoming for the month. Wasn't any snow on the ground. But the night before I got there, it dumped a foot. And the wind blew with it too, of course. So I spent a month there, but only got out of the trailer to trap for 11 days out of that. One of them days, I was setting traps where I could, not where they really should be. And it came time to check those few traps I had out. And I had 3 big tom bobcats that day.
Wow.
And 1 coyote. So at the time, it was a $940 day for me. Those cats brought $300 a piece. And this has been 21 years ago. It was in 2002 I did that. So that kind of sticks with my memory a little bit.
Yeah, that's a
that
great
would stand out.
Yeah. No.
You said how many traps did you have out?
Probably checking like 30 traps.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot. And I honestly thought I wouldn't have anything because I was using a lot of eye appeal because the traps weren't on location where they should have been because of the snow is where I could put them in at. So I was using a lot of eye appeal. The cats sure liked it.
That's great.
Well, I don't think the cats don't get the pressure on them like coyotes do. I mean, the cats they're under the radar a little bit.
It seems to, but then when that price is up like they are, there's a lot of guys go down to the hardware store and buying traps because they're going to catch a cat.
Yeah,
and as we know, they're not real hard to catch, so they can get hammered on pretty good, especially out here where you've got a decent. I know a lot of ranchers, they used to go trap cats because I mean it was better money than ranching.
Right.
So I don't know if it is nowadays. Highly doubt it. I mean, you got to run a $60,000 to $80,000 pickup to go get your bobcat now. And,
yeah. I meant in terms of the government trappers, they kind of they're not too hard on the bobcats.
Right. Yeah. Of course, they can trap them because it's not a conflict of interest with them.
Right.
So unlike the coyote and beaver, the government guys, when they can trap cats, they do. But yeah, as a whole, they don't put that continual pressure on them.
Yeah. You got lions in your area, EJ?
We do. Haven't caught any yet, but it's a matter of time. Same with the wolves. Got plenty of wolves here. Haven't had any get in my traps. I live in wolf management zone, but I'm 7 miles from the border of it, and anything east of that, the rest of the state of Wyoming, if you catch a wolf, you can legally take it, keep it. They're considered predators outside of the management zone.
Okay.
But you don't get many over there. Yeah. We've got lion tracks right here on our place. Grizzly bears, got plenty of grizzly bears around this year. Neighbor had about 7 of them in his sweet corn patch down there. They were trying to get out. And I think they caught 7. 3 were across the river. But yeah, there's a lot of things around here that'll eat you. So it's always interesting when you're out. You're always watching your back and listening for every sound. Carrying a very large revolver across my chest until about Thanksgiving or after.
So that the grizzlies were in the sweet corn and they actually caught them and removed them out of there then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
The state come in and do that, or?
Yeah, the Wyoming Game and Fish, they have bear trappers. That's their job.
Okay.
I talked to one and he says it's going to be a very busy fall. The way things are shaping up.
And they transport them into Yellowstone then, or what do they do with them?
I don't know where they take them. I know if they catch them in other parts of the state, they bring them up and basically dump them in our backyard up here in the Beartooth. And but yeah, it's I don't know. I think they have locations that they take them to.
Yeah.
Depending on where they catch them, dictates where they drop them off at.
So does Wyoming have a grizzly season?
No, but it sounds like our senator, she's really trying to get them on delisted. In fact, the Wyoming State Trappers is co-sponsoring an outdoor organization. We've got some billboards up, or they have billboards up with other organizations on it that are co-sponsoring in support of getting delisted. There's just too many. There's too many human grizzly conflicts, and I know all the bear lovers will argue with us that there ain't enough yet, but they usually don't live around them or have to deal with them. And so yeah, she's working on it along with a lot of other organizations. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, that's I mean, here in the East, they're, they fight over black bear seasons, and, where black bears are basically almost raccoon numbers, and they're just, so grizzlies are, that I'm sure that's going to be a very contentious issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Sustainable harvest and provide good income for the state of Wyoming as well. But that would be on the consumptive side and not on the the no season side, obviously. But
right, exactly.
You mentioned that we keep talking about Beartooth, and my mind goes to my trip when I went out west there to Yellowstone, and I went on that scenic byway. I think it's called Beartooth Pass. Is that it?
Yep, and it's Beartooth All-American Highway.
Yeah, anyone listening, if you are out there, just go drive that, because it, just like you were talking about all the different elevations, you'll start at the bottom, the next thing you know, you're at the top, and there's people snowboarding up there, and you're going to see so much beautiful terrain. Like it's an amazing journey there.
We've had a lot of people comment that they prefer that drive over Yellowstone.
Yeah, I could see why. Yeah. I read somewhere online it's definitely in like the top 5 best scenic drives in the country.
Yeah.
Probably in the world. I don't even know, but
yeah. It's it connects with a highway called Chief Joseph Highway.
Yep.
And
took that too.
It's just a loop. It's like 17 miles south of us. We get on it, and it takes us up behind basically in our front yard is. We take all our guests there, all our family members that come out. It's just a gorgeous drive any time of year.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, lots to see. We landed in a beautiful spot here. Never a moment of regret, and just loving life and living the dream.
You are. I mean, it's like I said, you're doing what lots of trappers dream of doing that never pull the trigger on it. They just,
Oh,
life keeps them where they're at, or whatever. But it's pretty cool, EJ, that you did that for sure. So
yeah, we are sure glad we did it. Like they say, you never get any younger. And,
right. That's right. So,
Anything else we should cover? I mean, obviously, we could make this 3 hours if we wanted to.
Oh yeah, I can talk for 3 days on trapping and stuff.
all right. On a practical side, EJ. So, and I've seen you make your sets. So, trap on a dirt hole set's pretty much on the hole.
Yes. Yep. Round it up
You know what? That's how
close.
we're gonna every episode. I think from now on, that's the final question. You hug the hole or you're not. Just, and I already know what we would do no matter what anyone says. But I just feel like a lot of more people need to hear what you just said. I think you're better off right up on the hole.
Yep. Get her up close, and you'll take the coyotes. Won't miss any fox. Coons will be in there. So just it's the way I was taught 30 years ago. Worked for me since.
Yeah.
Don't get to use many holes out here. Hard ground, rocks, flat set central.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about trap preference? Is there a certain size you like to work with, or?
That's always a crazy question for me. I used to have to use what I could afford, make it work. And then I had a lot of variables coming into play, like a lot of pheasant dogs out there. So I used, and I still use, a lot of different traps for coyotes, but I make sure they're going to hold up. They're going to treat the coyote well while he's in the trap. In a perfect world, we could all use these, the MB 650s and Sterlings and big modified number 3s. That's my preference, but it's not a perfect world, so I can't always use them. And I know a lot of people like the beefed up big traps, but I always got to think about, can a pet owner get his dog, or her, can she get her dog out of that trap if it happens to get in it?
Right.
So it's always something I always keep, even out here in the wilds of Wyoming, you've got people walking dogs like, what are you doing out here? But it's open to the public, the BLM land, and you find people out there walking their dogs.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's beautiful. I'd take my dog out there too.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's the whole thing. It's perfectly legal for you to be doing it, but as an ethical trapper, you have to make those decisions as to what's the right thing to do, what's the best thing to give people as positive an impression of a trapper. That's very important.
Exactly right. Yep. Just because you can doesn't mean you should be.
Right.
So even out here, always got that in the back of my mind. Even a rancher, can that rancher get his dog out of his trap, out of my trap?
Right.
I got to think about those things.
Right.
So, but there's a lot of good traps on the market. The MBs, love them, 650s or 550s. Modified Victors, number 3s, one of my favorite traps. I've used them for many, many years. And Sterlings, of course, I've got some of those. Getting to kind of be a collector's item anymore.
Yeah.
But I used some old stock number 2 Montgomery round jaws I bought back in the late 80s. I'm still catching coyotes with them today.
Yep.
They hold them just fine. So it doesn't have to be fancy, just functionable.
Yeah. Did you see that Gary Jepson lines up those Sterlings for Dave Hastings?
No.
It's a recognition of Dave's all the work that he's done for the FTA, Gary lines him up to a dozen Sterlings.
Well,
It's even got some sort of fur taker emblem on the pan.
really?
Yeah,
How about that?
yeah.
Special treatment.
Well, I tell you what, he's awful deserving of that.
Yes. Yeah.
They've done a tremendous amount for the fur takers.
And I suppose if Gary Jepson calls them up, they're probably going to come up with them.
Yeah, yep. They're gonna make it work.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, one more question, Gary, or EJ.
Yeah.
Stretching coyotes, wire or wood?
I've always used wire. None of my buyers have ever said I should go to wood. I think it's all in how you take care of your fur, whether they go on wire or wood.
Right.
And if you've got a good coyote, it's a good coyote no matter what it's on.
Right.
So, just my opinion. But I know a lot of guys will argue with me on it, but just what I do.
I agree with you on the wire, and it gives you a little flexibility. You have to keep the rust off them. You have to keep them clean, but
No.
yeah, I'm much quicker, easier to turn them, easier to dry them once you turn them back first side out. Just the whole thing. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I've used wire for everything, I guess. So,
Yeah.
starting to put a few skunks on boards. It's just something to kind of play with a little bit.
Well, EJ, we appreciate you being on. And where's the best place for people to find this?
Directly through me. Check or money order. You basically just call me up. The ads in the Fur Taker magazine with my article every month. Just give me a call or send the check or money order, $24.95 postpaid, and we'll get you one of them books, and you can read all about it. So,
okay, read about a unique life.
yep.
We'll
Certainly a blessed life. I know that. There's no doubt about it.
We could put the information below the video. So
okay, I appreciate you guys having me on here, and I appreciate what you're doing. You guys have done a lot of positive stuff for the trapping community, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. And I really appreciate it.
Well, same, EJ. You've clearly been involved in the Trappers Association, the Fur Takers of America, Wyoming State Trappers Association now, presently, and of course have been a big supporter of the Fur Takers Trappers College. So, yeah, same. So